Rob intimidated me before I ever even met him. You know, you grow up in a small town and you kind of know everybody, and even the people you don't know, you know of. And I'd seen him walking around town a million times. I was 15 years old and tragically prepubescent. Couldn't grow facial hair to save my life. Voice hadn't dropped. Still kind of short. And Rob was my age, a couple months older than me. But he was already this gangly dude. This scruff, like smoker's voice. And he had a beard, what was to me at the time like a full beard. He looked like a full-blown man. And I still looked like a boy. And that was intimidating to me. So I had reservations when his cousin, Gabe, asked if I wanted to play drums in a band with him. I thought, that sounds cool. I've never been in a band before. I've never been in a real band. But that guy's scary. And I remember telling Gabe that, and he just laughed and said, no, he's not. He's really not. I remember picking him up at the high school and being pleasantly surprised when he hopped in the car and ended up being just as, if not more, goofy than Gabe and Alex and I. We all kind of just had this natural chemistry together. And we spent the next couple months frantically writing songs so we could play a show. Like, we booked a show before we had any material. And we were supposed to play at the high school. It ended up being our only gig. We booked the gig before we even had a band name, which we ended up deciding on 13 Empty Cases. I wanted to call it Empty Case, but Rob was obsessed with this band called 36 Crazy Fists, and he thought it needs a number, obviously, clearly. So we frantically wrote a record, became really close in that time, because none of us really knew what the hell we were doing. Like nobody does at 15, 16 years old. We had these preconceived notions of what a band was, especially because at the time we were all listening to bands like Slipknot and Mudvayne, and that was very obvious when we show up to the show and we all have our own little thing that was, in retrospect, very cringy. Gabe painted himself completely black with acrylic paint. In another universe, that could be misconstrued as maybe wearing blackface, but it was more like we were just ripping Mudvayne off. Skitch gave himself a little mohawk. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking or doing. Seemed cool at the time. And Rob had very thick eyeliner on, and those trademark braids of his that would just scoot to and fro like a poodle waddling down the street. And the number 13 on his hand, which I have a photo of. It's one of my favorite photos of him. I remember how nervous we all were before the show. They were nervous about the actual performance. I wasn't. I didn't have stage fright. I never really have. I was nervous that somebody at the school was going to try to fight me, or a group of people, because a lot of people back then didn't like me. Imagine that. And I remember before we went on stage, I expressed that to Rob specifically. And I said, dude, I am nervous that there's going to be a group of dudes that just try to jump me. And he gave me that look, that like trademark Rob look. And was like, dude, they're going to have to go through me if they want to get to you. And I remember that instantly calmed me down. It ended up being our only show. You know, we were stupid kids. I remember distinctly one night we were, after the show, we were like, well, we've got to book more shows now, but we have 7 songs. We should play covers too, right? And I remember Alex suggesting covering a Slipknot song, and Rob getting very upset, being like, dude, there's 9 fucking people in that band, and there's 4 of us. And they ended up just getting into the squabble, and Rob marched out of the house in the snow, and, you know, because he had to cool down. We never did end up learning any covers. We disbanded, and it was all that teenage drama that tends to follow you around. But Rob and I always remained close. We hung out sporadically over the years, and he became someone that was just like a fixture. He was a big, crucial part of the music at the mall scene, which was my saving grace from 2007 to 2009-ish. He was the lead singer of a band then, and all 4 of us had kind of drifted into our own projects, and he eventually became a buddy of mine. And then he became a bar buddy. He's someone that if he was at the bar, finally, someone I can fucking talk to. I can't say that with most people. Unfortunately, I tend to burn bridges. I get really close to someone for a short period of time, and then we drift apart and don't ever talk again. And it's weird when we see each other. We avoid eye contact and stuff like that. Rob was one of those few people that never happened with. We became friends when I was 15, and at 30 years old, still friends. He was so unapologetically himself, and there was no falseness to him. He was just a genuine dude. He would tell you exactly what he thought with absolutely no reservations. If he thought you were full of shit, he'd tell you. If he thought you were being stupid, he'd tell you. If he respected you, he'd tell you that too. He was just a good dude. So when my friend Canyon called me last week and said that he wished he was calling under better circumstances, but Rob had passed, I didn't know how to take it. The first emotion for me wasn't sadness. It was anger. I was mad because we had all these fucking projects. He wanted to do this documentary about doing graffiti and tagging stuff, and I was really into the idea. I really liked it. I wanted to do it. And selfishly, that's the kind of stuff I thought about was, motherfucker, we had plans. We were going to make music together. He had so many different creative outlets. He was so talented. He could write, pour his soul out onto the page, and it was just as genuine as he was as a human. Impossible to be fake, that guy. His art was just continuously getting better and better and better, and I was envious of that because I can't do that stuff. The reason I do this stuff is because I can't do that. And I was proud of him. He didn't have a funeral. He had like a memorial service, and I was really nervous to go. Like I got all clammy, and I felt like I was gonna faint or something. And it reminded me of the moments before the show, back when we were still kids, when I was scared to go on stage because I thought someone was going to fight me. It was the same thing here. I didn't think someone was going to fight me, but I knew that room was full of burned bridges and people that did not like me. And I didn't want misplaced pain to be pushed out and then have it be something that wasn't out of love for him. And I felt like my presence there might have been a negative thing in whole. So as I'm walking to the door, I'm nervous. Like I'm having a hard time catching my breath and I'm sweating. But I knew I had to do it because I also had friends in there that, you know, needed me to be there for them, and you know, I needed them to be there for me, and I would have felt wrong to not go. And that's when something really surprising happened. There was a couple people that I used to be really close with, and it ended in fire, and they were the first people I saw. And rather than what we always do, which is just awkwardly avoid eye contact and walk the other direction, they both reached out and gave me a hug. And then it happened again, and again, and again, and it kept happening. And it's almost like that was like one last little gift from Rob. All these burned bridges were sunk. New bridges were built. I rekindled friendships with people that I haven't talked to in years. And I hate that it takes something like this for people, including myself, to snap out of it and to realize that grudges are so superficial most of the time and you shouldn't hold them. Like, just let shit go. Because it's so rare in life that you make connections with people, like real connections. So when you make one and you let it die, that's one of the biggest tragedies in life, I think. I don't know if this was said to me in confidence, so I don't know if I am at liberty to say it, but I'm going to. And if the person has a problem with it, hopefully they tell me and I'll cut this out. But at the memorial service, after that, we all went to a restaurant to hang out. Probably 80 people in total. And one of them was Rob's girlfriend. And I walked up and I gave her a hug and, you know, let her know that if she needed anything, to never hesitate to ask me or anybody else there. That, you know, I knew there was nothing I could say to make it better, but, you know, she wasn't alone in her feeling. And just off the cuff, she said that Rob had told her that he was envious of me and intimidated by all the art stuff that I do, and that he compared himself to me as an artist, and that he never felt up to snuff. And I sat and I thought about it, and there were so many times where I had the opportunity to tell him how much I liked his work, and I just didn't because I thought he knew. So many times he showed me something he did and I was like, I like that, but I didn't go into depth about why I liked it. I didn't ask him. And that fucks with me now, because I obviously won't ever get a chance to do that. It makes me realize that it's not good enough just to let somebody know you care or that you love them. You have to encourage them. You have to let them know why. I love you is just a general statement. And even though it's true, it doesn't have the gravity without the why. I wish I would have been more vocal about how envious I was of him and his ability. The fact that he could paint and do graffiti, and he had this chalk project, and his writing was good, and he was good at everything he did. And I never said any of that. I was too busy in my own fucking head, in my own insecurities, that it didn't even occur to me that someone could look at my stuff and be like, damn, I wish I could do that. And so I'm making it a personal goal in life to not only tell people that I love them, but tell them why. And that's ultimately what I'm suggesting you do as well. Hug your friends. Tell them you love them. Tell them why. When they say you're being sappy or you're being over emotional, just shrug. Like, okay, I just wanted you to know. Because you don't know when you're not going to have that option available to you. And when you don't have it, it's like a fucking prison. You just have to accept it. And this one's going to be hard to accept. The only way I could think to honor my friend was to make a video talking about him. And make some people that didn't know him kind of know him a little bit. The town lost a good one. And the whole fucking world lost a great artist and a great friend and a great guy. And I just wanted to talk about him for a little while.